Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Negotiation. My name is Todd Embley, your host, and I'm pleased to be joined by Diego Dultzin, co-founder of OnTheList, Asia's first independent, members-only flash sales platform. Diego, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, so where in the world are you today? Obviously, we're recording you remotely. Where are you sitting right now?
This week, I'm in Singapore. I'm usually based in Hong Kong, and I'm in Singapore. We have a team here of 25, and we have a beautiful showroom in the CBD. So I'm in Raffles Place right now.
Yeah, and what does CBD stand for?
So it's where all the offices, all the like
business
center,
district, right?
Exactly.
The commercial
business
central
business.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's funny because like a lot of cities in Asia have that CBD, right? I think in a lot of places they would know it. So you call Hong Kong home usually?
Correct, Hong Kong.
Okay. A little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
So I'm Diego, French and Mexican. I grew up in Mexico for 6 years and most of the rest of my life in France. I've met Delphine 11 years ago. So I'm mentioning Delphine because we're a couple and partners. We have two little boys, Pablo and Gavin, and we started OnTheList 7 years ago in Hong Kong. So we organize friends and family sales for many different brands, a lot of luxury brands, LVMH, Kering, but also more lifestyle brands like VF Group, also cosmetics or other categories of products. And the idea is really to help them to get rid of the excess inventory that they might have by giving access to OnTheList members to those friends and family sales where they get the best deal in town.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're going to dive into a lot of how that works and how you've been able to build it up, how you've been able to build a team of 25 in Singapore, which is not next door to Hong Kong. Tell me a little bit about how you ended up in Asia, and why don't we add a little spice to that? Tell us a little bit about how you found your partner and co-founder, how you and Delphine met as well.
So we've met in Paris via the university, and we decided to move to Hong Kong because Delphine was working with a brand called Fago, and I was working with The Couples, and we were coming a lot to Asia for business trips, and we love it. And we decided to try to really push internally in the companies we're working with to move to Asia, and that happened. And yeah, we just love the life here in Hong Kong. You have both the business excitement and personal life that people might not know that is super cool. With really a lot of hiking and natural landscapes that we really love.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back. I want to go back to the lightning strike, the spark. How did you come up with this company, right? Like what were you guys up to? What were you doing? What were the early stages of those conversations between you two that you really started to feel like you hit on something? And then how did you build that out and build out that vision as it started to progress?
So Delphine and myself, we were working for brands more on the distribution side, like looking for new partners, looking for new stores. And that's how we started and arrived in Hong Kong. And she was facing at one moment some inventory excess that she needed to get rid of. Fago being super into sustainability, like it's really part of the DNA of the brand. They plant a tree each time they sell a product. It was impossible for them to move the inventory back to Europe because of the impact that the logistic might have. So they said, no, you have to find a local solution. Of course, destroying was even less the possibility. So we organized a garage sale where all the revenue went to a charity. And that's when we realized that, in fact, these kind of business models of organizing flash sales, which exist in Europe, in the US, no one was doing that in Hong Kong. And that's really where the idea came from. All the brands are talking more and more about sustainability. It's a lot about the production side. Of course, that's where they can have the biggest impact. But for us, thinking that brands were destroying perfectly new products, and knowing that a lot of people will be like dreaming of buying those products at a discount. That's how we had the idea of OnTheList, and we made it happen in Hong Kong.
Does this fall into the category of upcycling?
Not really, because upcycling, you transform the product. While here we really sell what the brands have in the warehouse. So if we take beauty, it might be short shelf lives. So retailers like the big Sephora or any department store will buy products like with 18 months of life, at least existing shelf life. While us, we can sell cosmetic within 3 months, as long as we tell members that they will have to use those products in a kind of a quick manner. They are happy because they get it with a big discount.
Yeah, and I mean, for those who would, say, I don't know, mascara, it's going to last for a year. But if they're thinking, I use that up in 3 months, that's totally fine. And if it's 3 months old or 6 months old, totally fine. Would love the discount. Going to use it within the shelf life or the expiry date anyway. So heck yeah, sign me up, right?
Exactly.
So you're Europeans. You're obviously kind of half European, half North American, and Delphine, I'm assuming, is full. Is she full French? Okay,
correct.
So, yeah. You're running a company in Asia, and I want to talk about building a team. I alluded to the fact, and you said earlier off the top of the show, you're there visiting your team of 25 that's in Singapore alone. Tell us a little bit about your team. Let's talk about some size, some location. Where in the world are they all? And then a little bit about what they do. And then I want to get into your recruitment. And I'm going to try not to pile on a lot for you to remember right now, but give us a quick synopsis, a quick map of your staff, what it is today. But how do you recruit? Do you recruit with the intention of having global people, global-minded people, those who have traveled, those who speak multiple languages? What sorts of characteristics are you looking for as you build out your staff and your colleagues and your partnerships?
So we have 150 full-time members, like on the listers. Majority Hong Kong, Shanghai, 60 in each market. Then we have a team also in Seoul, one person in Sydney, because we're in those markets. And about the criteria, I think the most important is the passion that they love the industry. So working with brands, fashion brands, luxury. They love also the fact that we can bring an impact. It's really important that when we do the hiring, the team, like the HR team, is really looking at if people understand OnTheList values, and sustainability is really part of them. And the passion I was mentioning, we have panache, which means that as we do events, there's a lot of excitement about each time we do a big brand. There's thousands of people visiting the showrooms. And so we have showrooms is a point of sale where we organize sales. We have 3 permanent showrooms in Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Singapore, where I'm currently now. And so this excitement about the events we organize means also some stress, some kind of we need to be agile, flexible, and it's not always the case when you do the recruitment to easily detect if people will have this mindset of being able to take decisions kind of on the go, not to be like too worried, because of course things might not be exactly as we plan, and so that's really what we're trying to look at when we're hiring some people. So to your point, yeah, people who travel, who've been more exposed to different cultures, might be facing better this kind of situation. But not only, we have a lot of team members that have been based in those markets and not necessarily been able to live abroad, and they adapt pretty well to those situations. So we try to have really a mixed culture, and to of course then it depends on the skills of the different jobs. We have marketing, we have BD, we have ops, we have ecom, the function supports like HR, finance, IT. So there's a lot of different roles, and of course, we're hiring. So if anyone is interested to join us on the podcast, don't hesitate to contact me.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Do self-promote, self-ask, whatever you're looking for, what you need. I get, this is a great platform for that. I highly encourage it. All of our guests. I mean, we're going to get into that. Hey, you know what? Why not? Let's drop it right now. Where do people go if they want to jump on and enjoy what On the List has to offer?
There's a Join Us section on the website. Where people can discover more about what we do, the values of On the List, and of course the positions that are open. So that's pretty. And then on LinkedIn, on the classic platforms.
We're going to drop the link. We'll have it in the show notes, and we'll have it in the comments below and things like that. But what is the website? What is the
OnTheList.com? All attached.
OnTheList.com. Okay, OnTheList.com. Awesome. I mean, why wait to the end of the show to drop that? We're going to put it up front. Then more people are going to be, inspired to go look now. When I used to live in Asia and I was living in Shanghai, I worked with a lot of startups and I worked in the world of entrepreneurship and investing in early stage tech. Was working with this fantastic organization of people who were at this thing called Techie Zoo, and we wanted to do a weekend hackathon. And we kind of wanted to be almost an anti-hackathon where we weren't focused on kind of outcomes and success as a measuring stick to see who won, but we were actually almost leaning in on who could fail the most over the course of a weekend, aka learn the most about their proposed solution or platform or app or whatever it was they wanted to do. And we called it Fail Faster. That was the name of our hackathon. And, even if at the end of the weekend you said, we have learned this is not a viable business for all of these reasons, and you had all of this amazing data that you had gathered by talking to customers and people on the street about that, you could still win, even though your company wasn't viable. So, it was very different. And so I wanted to ask you something that I don't actually ask a lot of people, but I want to know about your failures. And I would like to see if you'd be open enough to talk a little bit at the beginning here about some potential major missteps, because, that you can Google how to tile a bathroom floor, but you can also Google what mistakes not to make when you're tiling a bathroom floor. And I'm telling you, the second one will teach you more than the first one. So I thought maybe I would ask you, what are some of the mistakes, some of the missteps, some of the things that you would have done differently after you've, on this journey that you've been on?
I wish we didn't have mistakes, but every time every week we have small little glitches. But of course, the biggest ones were when we had really serious concerns about being able to open the cell. So IT has been sometimes facing issues or just having short staff, people being sick, calling sick the day of a big event. And so we had to find friends to be able to operate the cell. So at the end of the day, it's just how you react to those challenges that you may be facing. The partners, so the first partner for us, it's the brands that we're working with. So as long as we are transparent, we tell them, okay, that's the situation. What do you want us to do? This is option one, option two. And at the end, they decide and they know that, okay, we're doing our best to make it happen and to cover whatever we are facing. I think this is the most important, is to talk to your stakeholders. So of course, first is the team and to find a solution together. And then is the partners so of course the brand, and for us then the members, who's invited to the sale. If we have to cancel and to postpone the sale, or if we are just, having short staff and it means there's going to be more line at the entrance, at the cashier, or it's not going to be as perfect as we want. But as long as we tell them, okay, we are really sorry, please, this is really unexpected. It's not what we want to offer you as an experience. But unfortunately, today, that's the situation. People are pretty forgiving and they're pretty nice. And it reminds me the advice that we received from Fred, so one of the founders of Fagwo, where Delphine started her career, that when you have an idea as an entrepreneur, don't wait to make it big. Just do it as soon as you can. and hear the feedback. And of course, it might not be as you want, but at least you will be able to bring it to the direction that everyone wants, not only you, but also your team, your customers, and that's really important. So mistakes will always happen, and as you mentioned, you learn a lot from it, and that's the most important. Is once you face this kind of urgent situation, then to take the moment to sit down, to learn, okay, why this happened, how we can avoid it in the future, and to put in place processes so that it will never happen again.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. It has to be hard sometimes, especially with your partners or your brands, when you're saying, listen, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love this. It's going to go brilliant. But in case it doesn't, we have to have a couple, just in case, these are some precautions and some procedures if XYZ maybe happens. And I'm sure, along the way, this is how you build your script. So, this is where your customer service scripts comes from. If you've got long lines or if there's payment transaction issues or something like that, you start to build out all those scripts of what to say and how to handle it, and you start to infuse that into your customer service training or your sales training or what have you. And there's no way to predict. It's almost a waste of time to try to predict and write them ahead of time until you know exactly how it's going to play out. Apologize, give discounts, and make the customer happy, but then, you learn from it and move on. So, good advice. Great advice. OnTheList has partnered with many, many, many well-known brands. Okay. I wanted to ask you to talk a bit about your approach to building those partnerships and convincing them to join the platform. It can't be easy. I'm wondering if there's some nuggets, if there's some gold, some advice that you have. How do you go about this in trying to convince and sway them, or if they have concerns or objections, how you overcome them? What is your world of partnership building look like? Or maybe it's just super easy for you and you don't even have to work that hard. I don't know. Tell us.
No, it's never easy. I wish. Again, Nana, it's take time. It's a lot of perseverance because, of course, everyone is super busy. So it takes some like resilience to be able to meet the right people and to get to know them. But now we are lucky to be in a situation where it's easier to get access to the people, but then to convince them to work with us, it's still a challenge. For some of the brands. And so the most important part is to get to know them and to really understand what are the challenges they're facing. Of course, concerning OnTheList, it's all about the stock, the excess inventory that they have at the warehouse. But we try to talk not only about that, we want to really understand their day-to-day life, about really as a president, managing director of a brand in Asia, what are the really the big concerns, and in a way, if there's any connection, any best practice that we can share, they will love it. And I'm just showing this example because it's something that talking about HR just before, everyone is facing a lot of turnover right now in retail worldwide and in Asia particularly. It's super hard to find good sales associates, and so there's a big turnover. And so really all the discussions we are having with those decision makers within brands, they're saying, okay, how we can find the right talent. And now that business is booming again in Hong Kong, in Macau, and even Southeast Asia has been tremendously big growth in Thailand, Australia, they all need to hire more and more staff. And for us, we try to turn what we do, the friends and family sales, as a employee benefits, and for luxury brands particularly, there's a big expectation from the teams to be able to access those sales because they all love the brands they work with. And so to really show to those decision makers within the brand, like the top management, that they should consider those events as a reward and part of the package. It's something that they like, and that's why they are keen to invest and maybe pay a little bit more us to make it nicer, like to have like a really an event and where they can glue the team and organize it like almost like as a team building. So that's just one example of listen to your partners, to the needs, and then you can adapt your offer and make sure that you fulfill their concerns.
Can I ask you something that you touched on there about staffing, and that it has been, I think globally, at least a lot of areas of the world, I know it's felt in North America, and you mentioned that it's felt there. Why, in your opinion, is it so difficult in this day and age, right now, to be able to find people or to find good people? Why is staffing difficult these days, especially in Asia?
Maybe a personal point of view. I'm not sure if everyone will share that. I think there was a kind of unfairness during COVID because front staff, people in stores, didn't have the same flexibility as the people back office, like anyone working in a corporate world, about working from home. Because of course, if you're in a store, you have to be there to sell. Even though there was a lot of techniques to sell with distance and with whatever tool on your phone, you still had to go to the stores and to meet people, which means more risk to get COVID. And I think this kind of attitude. So I think the brands that were trying to protect the retail teams as much as possible, they are the ones that are today more respected and with less turnover. And I think this kind of inconsistently people remind it, and that's why they believe that okay, why should I go back to a brand that asked me to continue to work in retail while they were giving a lot of flexibility to their office team. So that's why for us it has been always a big debate on how we should treat differently the retail team versus the office team. And we try to minimize as much as possible the flexibility and to make sure that everyone was on the same boat and supporting as much as possible the showroom's retail team.
How has it changed for you over the last 3, 4, 5 years as far as what lands good talent? How do you attract good talent? How has that changed over the last 5 years? Because it's a different, it's a third of a generation or a quarter of a generation changeover. Mm-hmm. But we have had we've had obviously the pandemic. We've had some tensions between North America and Asia. Of course, we know what's going on in Eastern Europe right now. We've had some recession type talks and whatnot, especially going on in North America. There's been some hiccups with regards to global manufacturing and distribution. So it hasn't been a normal 3 or 4 years. It's been a lot in a small amount of time. And I think it has changed people. I think it has changed what they care about. I think it has changed what they look for. Maybe, before I really cared more about salary. Now, salary, very much the last thing on my list of what I care about. I look for other things. How have you seen that stuff change? And what have you guys done at OnTheList as far as changing what you offer and what you're trying to improve as far as benefits or package or culture or days off or work from home or whatever it is? What have you been seeing, and how have you at OnTheList had to adjust?
I think salary in Asia is still important, but us, as we cannot necessarily align with the big groups because we might compete sometimes in some roles with the luxury brands. What we always offer is the experience. That's why we also have a pretty young team that is really eager to be facing more responsibilities and get more exposure. And that's really what we are offering. It's like we work with so many different brands, so many different categories. Every week is a new event, so they can really test and put ideas in place a lot. And I think when you start your career, it's amazing to be able to take decisions and to see immediately if those are the good ones and the impact you are bringing towards the business. And in addition to that, I think the younger generation is also more and more keen to work for companies that are doing something right in terms of the community and the planet. So we just became a B Corp last year in Hong Kong. Even though it's not that famous, still in Asia, we are only in Hong Kong. We are between 10 to 15 companies, whatever industry, that are B Corp. It feels like people are curious and they want to know more about it, and this kind of certification shows that the company is doing the right thing in some ways. Of course, there's a lot of things that can be done better, but at least it's something that they are concerned about, and so for I think for talents, it's going to be more and more important to attract them.
Yeah. B Corp, that's nonprofit, right?
B Corp, it's a certification that is looking at 5 pillars on how you bring a positive impact on the different stakeholders. So first is your team, people. Then is your customers. So for us, the suppliers will be the brands, and the customers will be the OnTheList members. Then it's about the community where you work with. So we do a lot of charities events where we try to give visibility and also some revenue to those charities. And then is also how you try to minimize the impact on the planet. So it's really all the CSR angle. And you have to do a long assessment. It took us 9 months to get the certification in place. And you need to have a minimum score of 80. And then the idea is you take it every 3 years so that you can try to always do better and progress. And so this movement started in the US like 15, 20 years ago. And now there's thousands of companies in Europe. Fago is one of them. And that's why we've been really inspired by the mentor that I've mentioned earlier. And for us, it's a good way to have kind of a guideline on where we could improve and do better.
Right. I was absolutely wrong. And but I also have all the editing power on my side, so I can actually go back and maybe cut myself out from saying that. I maybe actually just sort of re-record my question and make it sound like I knew what I was talking about. I tried, I failed. Oh well, c'est la vie.
No problem.
I'm kidding. I mean, I tried to sound like I knew what I was talking about, and I clearly did not. But that's okay. I know everything. It's interesting. I know that I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at you that you had no idea was coming. What was the main driver for you to actually go after the B Corp certification?
It was more to prove to ourselves internally that we were doing something right, and that we could do something maybe more consistent, because we were trying to be able for the team, as mentioned, is all the stakeholders. So already for the team, how we can give the best value and so again, if I go back on the definition, a company, the main objective is to give profits to the shareholders, and that's still the priority for any company, even the big corp ones. But then the idea is not to focus only on that, and in addition of being profitable, it's how you can bring value to the rest of the stakeholders, and being able to do this assessment gave us a lot of ideas, a lot of thinking on what we could do better and more. And so that's why it's really the objective of becoming B Corp. Because at the end, brands that we work with, they don't necessarily see it as a big advantage for us to be B Corp. Of course, it gives credibility. And for the members on the list, customers, they don't necessarily know. So for us, it's more an educating process and to show to more and more people in Asia that if you really are concerned about climate change, and I think everyone should be concerned, Of course, politics can do a lot, and B Corp has some also kind of a lobby effect on governments. In our industry, for example, there is a new legislation in Europe about circular economy and promoting that the products should keep in life, and so about stopping destruction of retail products. And we hope we can also influence in some ways in Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, or even why not China, to have regulations going into that direction. And then as a business, I think there's a lot that we can do to minimize the waste and to be able to promote a better consumption.
Okay. I appreciate that. Deeply respect all of that as well. I think one of the underlying motivations to ask about that stems from some reverse culture education I received coming back across the pond. As listeners know, or viewers know, I now reside in Western Canada and have found that on this side of the ocean, I don't think there's a strong belief that in Asia, there is much consideration for the planet or sustainability. So companies that would spend the resources to obtain a B Corp certification in that area of the world, it's an interesting challenge. It's an interesting venture to go ahead and do that, because the upside, as you said, partners maybe don't as much care. Your members or customers don't really know. So again, you're pioneering that information towards them. So it is more, I think, maybe internally for the company, for yourselves, and for your ability to join a more global or a wider movement locally to have some impact and effects politically, and to leverage the success and the size of your business, which is not that small at 150 people, to see what you can be doing to impact change. Correct?
Thank you. I don't know what to add.
No, that's good. I mean, that was just a really long-winded summarization, I think, of what you already clearly said. So apologize for going over it again. But again, very much respect and commendable work that you're doing. And I appreciate that you went out of your way to do all of that without a clear path to seeing more profits and revenue from it. It was not an effort that was driving that bottom line, although you are, designed to drive profits for shareholders. You still went ahead and did that. So I really hope that down the line, it does actually help that as well.